So what is CrossFit? CrossFit's a bunch of exercises developed by this guy, Greg Glassman. He is the CrossFit's, what they call the CrossFit Wadfather. The godfather, the workout of the day, WOD. This is the champion of CrossFit, the guy who started it all. So we've got a question recently in the media. There's a bit of a debacle about CrossFit. Does CrossFit have a steroid problem? In the media, that some of these photographs were flashed around, sort of asking, why do the CrossFit women resemble men so much? Does CrossFit have a steroid problem? Now, they weren't saying anyone's on steroids, they're just asking the questions, just sharing some opinions. So in this video here today, I'm just sharing my opinion. Just sharing my opinion of the question, does CrossFit have a steroid problem? So I'm just sharing my opinion. I would say CrossFit, there's no drugs in CrossFit, no steroids in CrossFit, nothing. If you go to the gym a bit and do a bit of iron, all the women look like this. There's no human growth hormone in CrossFit. There's definitely no testosterone. There's definitely no stimulants or... Nah, not at all. I'll tell you what, the only sport that has drugs is cycling. Because cycling is the only sport that has prize money. In CrossFit, there's no prize money. You win a pair of Reeboks or you get a 20% code or whatever. So there's no temptation for athletes to dope because there's no professional CrossFit athletes. So first of all, there's no money. And CrossFit, relatively unheard of. The CrossFit's not a real sport. It's not in the Olympics. So there's not much going on there. In my opinion, there's no steroids in CrossFit. It's just training. That's all it is. What I will do now is we'll clip to who's called the Lance Armstrong of CrossFit, a guy called Rich Froning. Now he works part-time as a receptionist at his local university gym, and he does a bit of CrossFit for fun. He likes to keep in fit and shape, and he's pretty good at the CrossFit. He wins their little competitions and gets himself a half discount pair of Reeboks, etc. I'll clip in now to Rich Froning sharing his opinion about steroids in CrossFit.
Do you care if I ask you questions about steroids?
Yeah.
Acknowledge that?
No. It used to bother me, and then I'm like, why? Those people are going to think what they want, and I know for a fact, I mean, I would take a piss test every day if they would let me. I would have no problem doing that. So it's like, it's frustrating, of course, because people want to take that away from me, but I know the truth. Everybody else around me knows the truth, so.
Do you know anyone in CrossFit who's done steroids?
Not that I know of.
You don't know a single person?
Not that I know of. I've never really asked anybody, but there's nobody off the top of my head that I'm like, yeah, that guy's done steroids.
Have you ever thought that anyone's doing steroids?
I don't think steroids would help you that much in CrossFit. I don't know. I don't know.
So there you go, that's from the Lance Armstrong of CrossFit, the champion, Rich Froning himself. He reckons steroids wouldn't even help a CrossFit athlete, and I would agree. That's the champion of CrossFit saying steroids would not even help you if you're in a CrossFit. So you know what I mean? That's why there's no one doing steroids in CrossFit, because it wouldn't even help you. Drugs don't even work. And you can't even buy steroids in America, because they're banned since 1990. So you can't even get the drugs. If you could get them, they're expensive, couldn't even afford them. Even if you could afford them, they don't even work. They don't work in CrossFit. They only work in cycling. Alright, so CrossFit is the cleanest sport around. It's just hard work. Top ramen and tuna. There's no gear in CrossFit. So please stop it with the insinuations that CrossFit is full of steroids. There's not. CrossFit is 100% clean at the top. Alright? Let's go on to some more stuff from Rich Froning.
Do you think there's any benefit in talking about it? Like, I'm hesitant to even ask you about it because I feel like it's almost insulting to bring it up.
It's not insulting to me because it doesn't bother me because I don't do it, you know? So if it was, I can see if somebody did it, yeah, it'd probably bother them for them to talk about it, but I have no reservation talking about it because never even crossed my mind to do steroids.
I mean, this reporter's an idiot. Rich is not on steroids. He says he's not. He says he's not, and he says steroids wouldn't help. The guy keeps pushing for questions. What do you think he's going to, like, if Rich was on steroids, he would have told you. So stop asking, sort of insinuating. If someone's on steroids, they'll just openly tell you. Now, especially if you're an athlete on TV or whatever, they'll say, hey, I'm on steroids. If you're a reporter and you want to know if someone's on steroids, just ask them. The athlete will tell you. So Rich is obviously not on any gear because he said he's not. And then we have another CrossFit champion legend. I think his name's Dan Bailey. Dan Bailey, is that his name? And I think it's his name. Anyway, so he's talking about how steroids would be easy to do if you're a CrossFit athlete. Check out this.
I'll tell people, like, if you think there's no one using steroids, you're probably pretty naive.
Yes,
naive. Absolutely.
But,
we have a good testing procedure to date, considering where the sport's at, I think.
Right.
But absolutely, you could get away with it 100%. It'd be totally easy right now to get away with it. Anybody with any limited knowledge in steroid use, HGH, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you'd have to have the funding to do it, for one, but because there's no year-round testing of anybody, I mean, it would be totally easy.
So Dan says it would be easy to pass a doping test in CrossFit because until 2014, they didn't have any out-of-competition testing. So you could do shitloads of steroids, get fucking swole, build some lean muscle mass, get some strength, and then you cycle off your steroid program into the CrossFit Games. Almost said Olympic Games there. Into the CrossFit Games. Do you reckon CrossFit will ever go to Olympics? Anyway, so you're doing all these steroids in the off season or whatever, and then you once your competition or your regionals or whatever, so you cycle off before them, put out a good performance, boom, testing. You've cleaned your body of all the steroids in 2 or 3 weeks, or depending on what you're using, a couple of hours or a day or two, and then you're good to go. So, but I disagree with Dan here. He says it would be easy. A CrossFit champion saying it would be easy to pass CrossFit doping control. But here's the thing, Dan. Rich just said steroids wouldn't work.
I don't think steroids would help you that much in CrossFit. I don't know. I don't know.
And Rich is a better athlete than you. So I'm going to put my trust in Rich that no one in CrossFit does steroids, and if you did, they wouldn't even work. So that's from the two champions themselves. Let's go to the CrossFit website and check out what they got to say. Here we have the 2014 Reebok CrossFit Games drug testing program. If you want to be part of the games, here's the deal. So in the introduction, they even tell you, even the legal use of banned substances. Isn't that interesting? Legal use of banned substances. Legal use of banned substances, e.g. hormone replacement therapy, aka doing shitloads of steroids, has the potential to compromise the integrity of athletic competition. And we'll screen down here, down to the last bit, just in case the CrossFit athlete didn't really understand. The last bit. They give you a heads up at the first bit, and a reminder as you walk through the door. So we have here in the last bit, the use of prohibited substance to increase low normals of any endogenous hormone is not considered an acceptable therapeutic intervention. So what they're basically saying is, if you're going to get a blood test, make sure your levels are low, not low normal. So a lot of people might be confused and going, hang on, Harley, so you can you use testosterone and participate in the CrossFit Games? Well, technically you can. Because testosterone, although it's a banned substance, if you have a script from your doctor, then it's illegal. So you can use a banned substance legally and say, I don't do steroids, I do hormone replacement therapy. Not that that's going to help in the CrossFit Games, according to Rich Froning. Because what does testosterone do? Gives you more lean muscle mass, improves your red blood cell count, improves your glucose tolerances, etc. Promotes recovery, faster recovery, so you can do your workout of the day faster and faster. But that wouldn't help us in CrossFit. Wouldn't help, according to Rich Froning. I agree. Steroids don't help. Steroids only work in cycling. All those skinny cyclists doing steroids. Here's Lance Armstrong.
Rain starts again as Lance Armstrong.
In 1999, in that first Tour de France victory, Lance Armstrong would have 15 urine samples taken. None tested positive for doping, but questions were being raised.
this man Lance Armstrong is still having to deny the fact he is not taking drugs in this Tour de France, and the press are saying he is.
And I can emphatically say I'm not on drugs. It's unfortunate that the yellow jersey of the Tour de France always has to defend drugs or say something about drugs, but c'est la vie.
Everybody wants to know what I'm on. What am I on? I'm on my bike, busting my ass 6 hours a day. What are you on?
Nobody believes in doping controls more than me.
And wherever he went, he took the message that against all odds, he'd accomplished everything, drug-free.
The proof for the results, not just the race results, but the drug testing results, the investigations, the inquiries, the court cases, haven't lost one of them.
You wrote that Lance Armstrong was doping, you were likely to be sued, and nobody was going to believe you.
Is there anything about your dealings with Dr. Ferrari over the decade or so that you've known him and dealt with him that would suggest to you that perhaps he was using or encouraging other athletes to use performance-enhancing drugs or substances?
No. In fact, to the contrary.
Tell me what you mean by at least to the contrary.
He's I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but he's, to me, totally clean and totally ethical, believes in clean, fair sport, but produces great results with his athletes because he's so focused.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're...
State your name for us, please.
Lance Armstrong.
Mr. Armstrong.
If you have a doping offense or you test positive, it goes without saying that you're fired from all of your contracts, not just the team, but there's numerous contracts that I have that would all go away.
Sponsorship agreements, for example.
All of them. And the faith of all the cancer survivors around the world. So everything I do off of the bike would go away too. And don't think for a second, I don't understand that.
So there you go, folks. Steroids are not used in CrossFit. They were only used in cycling, and you can tell. You can tell if someone's on steroids because they'll be all skinny and emaciated like Lance Armstrong was. So bottom line, in a banana skin, steroids don't work if you're a CrossFit athlete. Nobody in CrossFit uses steroids. If you wanted to use steroids in CrossFit, it would be very easy to pass the test, but they're very expensive and they don't work. That's the bottom line. And only cyclists use drugs in competition. Remember that. Another thing that was interesting is that if for some crazy reason a CrossFit athlete decides that testosterone will help them perform better, if some CrossFit athlete thinks testosterone makes them stronger, more aggressive, that wouldn't help a CrossFit though. But let's say they did. Let's say they did test positive, alright? The CrossFit Federation do not make those results public. So you see on cycling or whatever, it just gets spread across the media, such and such got busted for drugs. If you're a CrossFit athlete and you get tested and you test positive, nobody, only you and the CrossFit Federation will find out. And that's it. And if you want any money, you have to pay it back. So that's the ramifications. So the consequences if you actually did use drugs and did get caught, all that happens, if you placed, you get disqualified. Or you have to pay money back if you want any prize money. And that's it. Which people might think, oh, that's very light. They don't have a steroid problem in CrossFit. And the cost for drug testing is around $2,000 per athlete. Because you've got to drive a drug tester out to someone's house or fly them over here. You've got to store that little blood sample or urine sample. You've got to send it to the doping lab to get it all tested and stuff. And human growth hormone test, pretty much undetectable. Blood doping, undetectable. EPO, pretty much undetectable. And the carbon isotope ratio testosterone test, that's very expensive. That's about $1,200 alone. So if the CrossFit Federation was testing 10 athletes a week, that's like $20,000 a week, $80,000. That's almost $1 million a year on testing. There's no money in CrossFit. And the thing is, CrossFit wouldn't want to have people test positive because it might affect their clean family reputation. Not saying that there's drugs in CrossFit. There's no drugs in CrossFit. I'm just saying if you had a federation and you were controlling the blood tests, you probably wouldn't want people to know if people are getting busted, and you probably wouldn't waste money on drug testing. I'm just saying, if I was sort of a bit dodgy, that's what I would do. I would say, we'll put up a big thing for the media saying, yeah, we're doing drug testing, but in real life, if it was me, I wouldn't be wasting $800,000 a year on drug testing to make my competition that I'm trying to build money on look bad. I think that would be a bad business model. Spend money on yourself to make yourself look bad so you'll make less profits. That's probably not what they teach at Harvard Business School. Just saying.
Usually we work out around 9:45, 10 o'clock, but today we have a special guest getting a drug test. A blood and urine test. Found out yesterday at 3:15 p.m. that a guy was driving up from South Carolina. So
nice. So 15 hours later, we're going to piss test you, which is so cool. So, hey, random drug test. Randomly fell on the champ.
Random.
That's what I love about CrossFit. It's such a family atmosphere. I mean, even the drug testing procedure, they're so courteous. They'll ring up and say, hey, we'll do a drug test tomorrow, so we're just giving you some advance warning. Make sure you're ready for the test. Is that all right? Yeah, no worries. Isn't that fantastic? Got in the CrossFit HQ media liaison, Pat Sherwood, coming down, hey, Rich, we've got a drug test tomorrow. We won't tell anyone what the results are. We'll keep it all within the family. I think that's fantastic that CrossFit has such a close, tight-knit family feeling to it. So there you go, folks. CrossFit, 100% totally natural. Full natty bra. 100%.